Hi, you guys. Welcome. Wow, there's a lot of information that I want to bring through from the guides today. So I hope you can stick with me for this whole transmission, this channeling. It's chock full from beginning to end, and we're at a really crucial point in this ascension journey. So let's dive in and get into it. Okay, so for those of you that have been watching my channel for a little bit, I think a few videos ago, I think it's titled The Hidden Truth of Ascension. We're going to touch on this just a little bit more because this is the point that we're about to hit. So my guides were showing me that on these other planets, like Lyra, in Orion, Vega, other planets where these darker beings or entities had taken over. Basically, what has happened is in order to properly ward off these lower energies, I use that term lightly, uh, we have basically like been sent back in time to understand how that energy operates so that we don't let it infiltrate in these other planets. So we're working together as this collective of planets and souls. That's why we have all these ETs helping us right now in this process. We're all a part of it. It's not just Earth that it's happening for. So as we've been sent back in time on Earth to understand this third dimensional consciousness, we came to understand how it operates, what it's after, why it likes to take from us, and how we can help heal it and how we can rise above it and operate within it and not let it affect us. So they were saying that later this year, it feels like November, we're hitting that point where on all of these other planets, when these beings showed up to take over and, you know, enslave some of the people there and take resources from these planets, right when they're about to, it's all kind of happening at the same time. We're hitting that point where it's about to happen on these planets. And it's a point where they're about to try and do it again on this planet, on Earth. They're going to try something. It's gosh, and like I said, there's a huge event happening in the US in November. And it feels like that has a lot to do with it. It's like there's this energy that's coming in from them, the powers that were, that are going to try to like take over again. But it ain't going to work. It's not going to happen. And instead, it's going to wake us up even more. So we're building to that point right now. The energies, the frequencies, the light coming in from the sun, this is all coming in to support us, even though it feels crazy and intense. We're in this huge purge right now of letting go of these last remnants of this old operating system so it doesn't have a hold on us. Doesn't mean we might not dip back here and there, but our main consciousness is going to be operating from the higher dimensions and from this heart space. That's a really important aspect. But first, I want to talk about how the guides are like, we need to learn that protection is loving, that protection is not only loving for ourselves, but for everybody else. And this is the biggest thing they want to harp on first and foremost. As we hit this point where they're going to try to come in and take over again and let their consciousness seep into everybody, we have to put up protection. We now know how this consciousness operates. We know what it's after. We know what it wants. It wants our light. It doesn't know how to get it for themselves, even though they have it within them. They don't know how to access it, so they're trying to take it from everywhere else. They were saying that on these other planets, like Lyra, when the reptilians or these beings showed up to take over that planet, they were after resources, but they didn't even really know what the resources were that they were looking for. They needed like minerals and different things to like help operate their technology and just different resources that they need. And they came to that planet because it was so light, because the beings on there were operating from the heart space. And their energy seeped into the planet, and the planet's energy seeped into them. It was that symbiotic relationship, like I talked about in my last video. So they understood that. And because of that, The minerals and the resources on that planet were really rich in energy. They were really powerful resources. And these beings knew that. But they could do that on their own planet. If they raised their own consciousness and their own frequency, it would seep into their planet and vice versa. But they didn't know how to do it. So they thought, we'll go take it from somewhere else and deplete that planet. So that's what they're trying to do on Earth too. They're trying to take our light, our energy, and utilize it for themselves, but it never works. You see, just like we decided to come to Earth and we had to lower our vibration and our consciousness, and a veil came down, our energy lowered. So, how do I say this? Their energy is so much lower. I hate to use that term, but it is. It moves slower. It thinks in a different way. It operates in this lower dimensional form. So if they took resources from those other planets that had this like rich energy in it, then they took it for themselves, and then that resource almost like lowered its energy too, because it was in their energy. So then the resources after a while end up not really working, or they run out faster because they don't know how to replenish the earth or their planet with their own energy and continuously cultivate resources. So they're just going to keep taking, and it will just eventually like suck everything dry. So we had to come in and learn how they operate and how we can put a stop to it. I hesitate to use that term too, but we're kind of going to talk about that as well. So we're reaching this point where it's like, oh, we're all these timelines. We went back in time, this portion of like Orion and Lyra, Vega, and all these other planets that we don't even know of that have been either taken over or depleted by these lower beings. It's all lining up. All these timelines are lining up now with the Earth timeline. And what's going to happen is we will have the information from Earth because we've spent lifetime after lifetime after lifetime understanding this energy and stepping deeper into our heart. And now that we know how this energy operates, we get to send that information to all of these other planets and beings so that they then know how to ward off these lower beings and save their planet. So the biggest part of learning how to do that is stepping into the heart. Most of us who would consider ourselves light workers or star seeds, we are masters of the heart. We know how to operate in that space. That's where we create from. That is the bridge to the higher dimensions. But we still have parts of our heart that we wanted to understand even deeper. So going into this Earth planet gave us the opportunity to do that, as we had to work inside of this third dimensional consciousness. And sitting in this third dimensional consciousness, it took us into honoring ourselves and our needs and our desires first and foremost. And by doing that, that helps clear this third dimensional consciousness. So the protection that my guides are talking about is, yes, it might be physical protection, like putting up a fence, locks on doors, things like that. It may also be boundaries, saying no when you don't want to. It's taking responsibility for our emotions and our reactions. If someone wants to play the victim and blame you or shame you for saying no or doing what you need or operating the way you feel best, and they want to make you the bad guy, you let them, and you don't get reactive to them. Let them be in that space. Let them squirm in their shit. That's how they're going to cultivate the resources for themselves. So this deeper heart space for ourselves in this consciousness, how the heart operates in this consciousness, is through protection, is through honoring the self. We have to be in our sovereignty at all costs. And this is what we're going to be coming up against, but we're going to be in it. We're going to be able to say, this doesn't feel right. I'm not going to do that. We're going to be able to honor ourselves no matter what. And even though it may be difficult and we may be like, oh, this is a loved one. But if I do this for them, it's going to drain me. They're going to take my resources. They don't know how to give an exchange yet. But if I let them sit in their shit, they're going to learn how to do it themselves. And that's also us taking responsibility. So I want to give you an example. Let's say you have a vegetable garden and these rabbits keep coming and eating all the lettuce and the different vegetables in the garden. And you're like, gosh, now I don't have any food for myself. It's all kind of ruined. And you're like, well, how do I keep these rabbits out? You put up a fence, you put up some type of barrier so they can't get in. If you were like, oh, these rabbits are coming, what do I do? And you were just like, well, I guess they need to eat too. They must not be able to find food anywhere else. I guess I'll just let them come in. I mean, they need it and I'll just let them have it. But then you don't have food for yourself. And this is what a lot of us tend to do. It's like, oh, well, I'll just let them eat my garden. Oh, they're so cute. Oh, I'll let them do them. I feel bad. One of them has a baby or they have a litter of, little bunnies and I want to let them have this. And it's like, no, we have to protect ourselves. You're planting that food and those vegetables for you, for your family. Protect it. You're the vegetable garden. Don't let all these little rabbits come in and nibble off of it and ruin it for you. This is what the third dimensional consciousness loves to do. So we have to put up our fence, whatever that means, because the world is about to get so much more intense. We got to put up our intense fence. So this is really, really key. Honoring our heart at all costs. This is not an easy thing. We have to learn to listen to the heart and ourselves. Tune in with it. Take a breath. We don't have to respond right away. We have to be able to take this space for ourselves. You didn't get to where you were by just letting other people do everything for you or giving you all of the answers all of the time. No. Your biggest awakenings have probably been when you were in the midst of your shit and you're crying out to source or your guides for help, and it's like you're in it, you're diving in within and into yourself, and that's how the answers came through. That's how you moved through. That's how you would jump and up-level yourself. You are giving people so much grace by putting up these barriers and saying no and not reacting and letting them stir in their crap. It's a gift. It's a blessing. It was your blessing. It brought you to where you are. The struggle is the path. So let them walk it. And when they're ready to step in and do the work themselves, then they'll show up in that fashion and you'll know the difference. Because they're not going to be desperately crying at your door, fix this for me, do this for me. You're a bad person if you don't. You should be doing it this way. The guides also came through to say, when you feel stressed, when you are feeling like, oh, the intensity and like, I don't know what to do, I should have done this way, or, when we're feeling all that stress, they're saying that stress is just other people's stuff. Whether it's a program that's been put onto you about how you should behave or how you should be doing things or what people might think about you. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is the program that's running in my brain right now that's telling me something? That stress is other people's stuff, their ideals and their beliefs that society has given them. You need to get clear and centered within yourself. Let go of other people's stuff and protect your heart. Okay, so I want to talk about something, explain some analogy real quick. So I think I've talked about this before, but these beings, these higher dimensional beings, I work with the Arcturians and other beings like that, Lyrans that are in the skies helping us. they're also us. So I want to just explain really quickly about how that works, how the soul kind of splits itself. So I'm going to do a drawing. Let's say this is source. Okay? Source is this, glob of energy. And it's like, I'm a creator being. This would be cool. Why don't I create this experience and then I can split off and go experience it, and the information from that experience can be sent back to me. So let's say it splits off. Here's experience 1, here's experience 2, here's experience 3, but there's like billions of them. So these are now what we would call souls. And these souls go, okay, I'm having this experience, but maybe I'm not quite learning everything I need to know to enhance this experience. So I want to have some other experiences. So I'm going to split off into other experiences. Hopefully you can see this. And they're going to have experiences. So let's say 4, 5, 6. So then these experiences are going to go, oh, I see that this is happening. Let me split off too. It's like a family tree. And you have all these experiences fanning out from one source. So your soul could also be like, it's your source energy. So here we go. So now it may be here. Let's say this is right here. This might be like the Orion Wars, and you're living during that time, and your soul is experiencing it, and it was like, oh crap, this is happening. I want to know how I could have prevented this. So I'm going to have an experience, and I'm going to send myself out to this other planet called Earth. And maybe I'm going to send myself here and here too. Maybe I'm going to go to Lyra too, and then maybe I'm going to go somewhere else. And it's going to have this experience. So this is how the soul kind of like splits off. It's all these fractals, but it's all, if you can see, it's all the same thing. Even if this is another soul, look where it comes from. So this could be like two souls living both in Arcturus, and they're having this experience, and maybe they split off and like go have some experiences together, and maybe they go to the same planet here, and it's two different fractals on the same planet. So if source can split off and we are source, then we can also split off too. So we're having all of these different experiences at the same time. And when we're in this experience, we still have like this higher part of our soul, as you can see up here. This part of our soul is going to talk to this part of it, to this part of it. We can shoot straight up to source. We can do all these things. This might be you as an angel. This might be you as an Arcturian. This might be you as a Pleiadian. And then you come down and it's like, oh, here's me as a Lyran being. Then here I am on Earth. And then maybe this is me in Earth in the 1600s, me on Earth during when Jesus was around. Whatever. It's all these experiences that you need to fill in these pockets of understanding for yourself, for source. So basically what happened is we were having all of these different experiences. So you may have had a lifetime in Lyra, in Vega, in Orion, in one of these other planets. We are ourselves on Earth in all of the lifetimes we've had here, which are happening at the same time. And we are these higher dimensional beings too. The ones we work with are probably just us. It's just a higher fractal of our soul, and it's from the future. This can get really convoluted. But right now, we're learning this consciousness so we can send this information back to these upper parts of ourselves so that they know how to, quote unquote, combat it. And it's not like, well, they're higher dimensional. How come they don't know what to do with this consciousness? Well, they probably haven't experienced this consciousness yet. They don't know. Just like we were higher beings who came in, we hadn't experienced this maybe third dimensional consciousness yet. We came in with this veil of not remembering how it operates, not remembering how the higher dimensions operate, but we could get there. And it's very easy to get wrapped up in this consciousness. It knows how to get its claws in you. So we came here to really understand. We came here to allow it to get its claws in us so that we could fully understand it. You know, you're not going to know anything about a certain topic unless you go experience it. If you want to know how to do algebra, then you probably got to go take an algebra class and do some algebra. Otherwise, you're not going to know anything about algebra. So it's the same thing. We're just in algebra class. And we know we've worked our way up to like AP calculus now. So it's like we're really understanding it. And now we're reaching this point where all these timelines converge and we get to send this information to other parts of ourselves. These higher parts of ourselves that are having an experience with this consciousness too, but not all these parts of ourselves are going to have to dip down and go be in it to fully understand it. So it was like Earth was created as this like simulation so that we could understand this consciousness and pull it up into this higher echelon. So the simulation was created by us. This call went out into our hearts to ask us, do you want to be a part of this and help all of us figure out how we handle this consciousness? And we were all like, yes, what a great opportunity. So with that said, I don't know why this blew my mind so much, but if we are these higher dimensional beings and everything is our soul splitting off to have an experience, so it just understands deeper parts of itself. If we're also these higher dimensional beings, we are also the lower dimensional beings. They are a fractal of us. It's a reflection of these darker parts of ourselves that we haven't accessed quite yet. But now in this third dimensional consciousness, we've been able to. And all we're doing is we're pulling these lower parts of ourselves up into these higher parts of ourselves. So these energies, these beings that have taken over these planets, they're also us too. And if we can look at it from that lens of like, oh, that's also me. You are another me. But it's me experiencing a lower consciousness so that I can understand it even more. So ascension isn't just, oh, we're raising Earth out of this energy and it's splitting off. We're raising ourselves not out of this energy, but we're raising this energy up into it with us. And here's how it goes even further. These beings, you can call them lower dimensional, reptilian, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. It's just energy in a physical form. But these beings wouldn't have shown up to these planets trying to take from them if they weren't ready to shift. And I know some of you are probably hearing that and saying, they're not ready to shift anyways. They are. They wouldn't want to come into contact with beings like us if they didn't know something was there for them. They know there's something more. They don't know how to get it. We're going to show them how to get it by just being. We don't give it to them. We don't do it for them. We are the example. We let them sit in their shit until it gets to be too much, gets to be so much. They're like, I can't do this anymore. I have to find another way. That person, I know them. They did something. How did they lift themselves out of it? Because I remember they were walking through shit at one point. Let me go see how they lifted themselves out of it. Maybe I can do the same. Now, I'm not saying all of this is going to happen for all of these parts of ourselves or all of these lower beings in this lifetime. It's going to take time. But they wouldn't be trying to come in contact and take us over if they weren't looking for something deeper. It's there. That seed is there. It's ready to sprout and grow. But the guides are like, we have to protect ourselves from getting pulled into it. Okay, this is where I feel like it gets even cooler. I hope you're still with me. So, everything is just like it's a reflection of us, of our greater soul, and how we can pull it all back in to who we are, all back into one. And when we do that, then we pull back up into source and we go, okay, what's next? What else do I want to learn? We're splitting ourselves off in all these different directions to learn so that we can come back together. All right. So, with that, I want to talk about the solar flash. I feel like the flash is kind of already happening. It's happening in like, it's spread out. I think we may think of it as like it's this one big thing, and it kind of is, but it's also this spread out thing. So these spikes that we're getting in the Schumann resonance, that's part of the solar flash. It's happening in experiences, just like our soul. It's happening in fractals. But our bodies need to be able to hold the energy and integrate it and maintain it. So that's why it's happening in pieces. And we're getting these hits of light. What is light? It's information, it's energy that we're holding in our bodies, it's consciousness, and it's higher consciousness so that we can raise into our awareness. And as our bodies get used to absorbing this light and integrating it, we're going to be able to do that faster and faster. And then we're going to be able to just hold it and fully become that light. It's like we're activating our light bodies so that we can just become the light body. And they're showing me that it feels like for a lot of us that really happens also in November. Oh, and I'm getting chills as I'm about to say this. They go, we are the solar flash. It's when our bodies have been able to fully integrate enough light. We're holding enough light that it's like we become it. That we're all going to shine so brightly on the earth, and the sun is still a part of it. It's still bringing in the light and shining it, but we're able to hold it. And like, it's like we don't have to go through this crazy process of release and intensity and all this integration. We just are it. So it's like we're just feeding light on the planet. And they're saying that's the solar flash. But it meets at this time of when these lower beings, these other fractals of us, try to sink their claws in once again. And it's like, oh, no, it's too late. We've already learned. We already know how you operate, so you can't pull the wool over our eyes anymore. And the light becomes so bright. This flash happens because we're holding it. And it's like this fifth wave that I've talked about starts to wake up. So to me, it's like there's kind of more than one big solar flash, but I think the instance that is really coming up of this big solar flash, I feel like it's November, and they're making feel like it feeds into the beginning of next year, and then we are just the light. Now, with that, the light is teaching us this information of how to fully operate from the heart and follow the information of that. So this whole time, as we're bringing in the light, we have been light workers because we have been working, bringing the light into our bodies, becoming aware of it, raising our consciousness. And once we become the light, they're saying we're no longer light workers. We don't need to work with the light anymore. We are it. And once we become that, the term of light worker, they're making me feel like goes away. And they're saying we become heart workers. And this is what we're stepping into. We are stepping into our heart work. We are building new earth. We are building this reality in our space. Oh my God, so much emotion is coming up for me saying this. We're building from this heart space. We're learning how to honor that and work with the heart. We're now becoming heart workers. I want to say it like a million times. We are heart workers. You've been called to this planet because you know how to work with the heart. You've mastered it. And we've just mastered this deep, deep level of it, of self-honoring. I'm not letting the hate and the shame and the blame of this consciousness take us over. We've learned to love ourselves through it. Oh my God, sorry. Unexpected. It just feels incredible. But this is the level we're hitting. So please have grace and compassion for yourself right now. I know it feels intense, but it's all part of the plan. We're on the right path. Keep following with your heart. Take a deep breath in, drop into the heart, and just speak to it. Listen to it. What does it want to say to you? And follow it. This is what we're learning to do. We're heart workers. That's how we create this new higher dimensional energy on this planet. This is how we combat the dark. This is how we build the light. This is how we hold it. This world wants us to identify ourselves through the external, through what people say, through advertisements about how you should look, through the fear and the propaganda, all of it, through the material things. It wants us to identify ourselves through it. And we are learning that that is not the case anymore. We identify ourselves through our hearts. We are the light. And now we're working with the heart. That's the next level. All right, heart workers, that's what I have for you today. I hope it hits home. I hope this was helpful. Um, we're really stepping into this amazing period in August. I know we have these last couple of weeks here in July where it feels like we're really pulling this operating system, this old operating system out of us. And I feel an opening coming in August. It's like a reshuffling, a settling in, a grounding in, and anchoring. And as we hit October, it's like, okay, there's a little bit of crickets. But then it's like, oh, I can feel stuff just like ready to kind of build in the background. It's like we're setting into our light bodies, our hearts more. And as this sting wants to come through from the lower dimensions again, it's just like there's no contest. So things are really ramping up. Don't pay attention to the outside world and the craziness and how everyone wants to tell you about the illusion or how you should be supporting this. And if you're not talking about this and da 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 da, you're a piece of shit. Let them do it, but always come back to the heart. That's how we combat. Get into this energy and follow it. Boots on the ground, minds in the heart. I love you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And I'll see you on the other side. I'm hoping to open some sessions in the next week or so, so stay tuned for that. And if you would like to know when those open, you can click the link below to get on my email list. I notify those people first. All right, I will talk to you soon. Take care.